Okay, we're going to start at the instrument cluster of the vehicle. I'm going to start the car, and I want to explain why I started the car, or already have the car started. We want to show that we've reset the maintenance minder. We want to point out the mileage, 207,538, and we want to indicate that there's no warning lights on the vehicle. From there, we'll check the horn and the wipers. We would have already checked the lights at this point with someone behind us. At that point, we could either pause the video or leave the video on and go under the hood. So I'm not going to pause it, just turn the vehicle off. Step out of the vehicle. And from here, I want to do a walk around. So I will start now at the license plate indicating it is the customer's vehicle. And just walk around the vehicle. Point out any scratches or dents. And if you do find a dent, you want to be able to point that out. But we're just going to show if there's any damage to the vehicle. Okay? Dents, scratches, any body damage that we would notate. Okay? From there, I'll go to my underhood inspection, where I will indicate the battery test is passing. 640 cold cranking amps out of a 630 cold cranking amp battery. Brake fluid, I'm just going to shine my light in here, okay? And I'm going to indicate that looks pretty good. Toyota and Lexus brake fluid has a little tint to it. This is replaced as a maintenance item based on time, not mileage. Most manufacturers is 3 years. From there, I'm going to show my filters. Okay, these start out white. We want to indicate that to the customer so they can see the difference. That this is, the filters start out a bleach white, and these are due for replacement. From there, I'm just going to shine the light for my power steering fluid, showing it slightly low. Cool it. Is slightly low, and we'll top that off. From there, on this particular vehicle, there's not a whole lot you can see under the hood. Okay, the belt is down in there, it's really tight, so we would see that from underneath. Okay, this particular vehicle does not have a transmission dipstick. I personally always check the oil on every vehicle, doesn't matter what it comes in for. And I'm going to check the oil filter cap just to make sure it's tight. From there, I'll pause the video and I'll put the vehicle up in the air. Okay, so now we're underneath the vehicle, and I like to use a screwdriver to point out to the customer exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of just saying the lower ball joint, because we have a tendency to think that the customer understands what we're talking about, we can point it out to them. Lower ball joint, boot is not ripped. Your CV boot is in good shape. There's no grease coming out of it. Your motor mount is not leaking. From there, we could even check the brakes. I already know what these brakes are because I'm already set up, so I'm not struggling with stuff, and I can show, hey, there's a 10mm measuring device. It fits right in there. There's plenty of material left. And we have to explain to the customer what that 10mm means. That means we have plenty of material left. One of the things as techs we have a tendency to do is, when I'm looking at the CV boot and I'm talking about the CV boot, I have a tendency to do this and put the camera somewhere else. You need to look through the camera or look through your phone and point out what you're talking about instead of looking at the item itself. From there, I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm just going to indicate those same things. I'm going to point them out. See, your lower ball joint boot is in good shape. Your CV boot has no rips or tears. Front brake pads are at 10mm on the inside pad, 10mm on the outside pad, and that's practically brand new. The vehicle's in very good shape as far as the brakes. From there, I want to look at the undercarriage of the vehicle. Okay, I want to point out anything that I find odd. You know, that the exhaust system has surface rust, and that is normal, especially for a vehicle of this age. As I get back to the rear suspension, I want to point out these items again that I just did on the front, okay? I want to point out what the brakes are, what they're measuring at, and these brakes are at 6 millimeters. And I want to explain to the customer that the rear brakes are going to be a little less, okay? And that's normal. The inside pad is at a 6 millimeter, and then the outside pad, I can fit it in there, it's a 6 millimeter, okay? Maybe point out that the sway bar links do not have any damage on the boot, that the strut is not leaking, okay? And then I'm gonna go to the driver's side rear and do the same thing. Again, put that 6 millimeter in on that inside pad, 6 millimeter on the outside pad, and indicate that that's normal wear. We don't have any issues there. Also, the sway bar bushing is in good shape. We don't have any cuts, tears in the boot, and that the strut is not leaking. You know, we do again have some surface rust on the strut. And then I'm just gonna come back up to the front, giving any recommendations or anything that I find abnormal. Lastly, I want to indicate to the customer their tread depth on their tires. This is kind of hard to do, to zoom in on that and show exactly where it's at. These are at 9/30 seconds, but what I can do is show that they're in the green, not in the red, and that there's even tread wear across the tire. I want to state where I'm going, you know, just went from the driver's, now I'm going to the driver's rear. Same thing, this one's at 9:30 seconds. Walking around the vehicle to the passenger rear. Again, I'm at 9:30 seconds and the tread is worn evenly. That's very good. A brand new tire may be at 9 to 10:30 seconds. We want to explain that to the customer. And then in closing, we want to say, you know, your tire wear is even. That may be because I see in the history that you performed alignment with us when you had the tires replaced. Finally, I want to reiterate any recommendations, which would be our air filters, thanking the customer to come in, for coming in, and then let them know that the service writer will be sending an estimate for any maintenance items or repairs.